Most of my memories as a little girl are in a volleyball gym.
My neighbor, Betsy, I wanted to be just like her. So she played volleyball, I wanted to play volleyball.
I was a terrible drawer, but ended up drawing a picture of myself, and I had a USA jersey on, and shockingly enough, it was number 7.
We single filed into the gym, and the first step that I took, I just had these crazy chills. It was a really emotional moment for me.
What do you want volleyball to do for you? Where do you want this path to take you? I want to be on the USA Olympic team. I want to play in the Olympics one day.
Surreal is the word that I have to use because it's something that I never have experienced before.
We are stronger together.
We push each other to excel.
In the classroom, on the field,
in the community.
Together, we are committed.
Uplifting, strong,
and authentic.
we are building the next generation.
And we are doing it our way. Stronger together.
Working towards the same vision.
This is the CUSA way.
We're a university founded on the site of an airport, reaching new heights. It's in our DNA. And since then, we've dedicated ourselves to solving the big problems facing our community and the world. We believe that crazy startup idea isn't so crazy, that families without healthcare shouldn't have to go it alone. We believe we can be better prepared for the next hurricane, and that our coral reefs can be saved. And that's because, above all else, we believe in you.
And we welcome you to the Graham Center on the campus of FIU. Another week of Panther Talk Live with Butch Davis. Glad to have you with us, Butch Davis, AJ Ricketts, as we look forward to Arkansas Pine Bluff on the horizon this week, the final game of the non-conference schedule before Conference USA play begins. And Coach, you mentioned in the press conference after this weekend's games, you get better by playing great teams.
Sure.
And you look at what you've done in the non-conference portion of the schedule this year. Indiana out of the Big Ten. Old Dominion, who just dropped 49 on Virginia Tech and a huge upset. We'll talk about that in a second. Group of 5 games and whatnot. UMass, a win over Conference USA foe Charlotte this past weekend. And, of course, Miami, a top 20 team. Pending a complete game this weekend, it seems like you had a pretty good non-conference schedule to prepare for CUSA play.
Yeah, you know what, AJ, I mean, obviously, if you're going to build a program that's going to be really, really good, there's benchmarks. You got to play against competitive, good football teams because that's how your program grows. That's how you measure yourself to try to find out. I told the team in the locker room or in the meetings yesterday, I said one of the things when we built the teams at Miami and when we built the teams with the Dallas Cowboys, one of the greatest things that ever happened, even though we went 1-15 and 7-9 in those Dallas Cowboy years, we were playing against the Washington Redskins that had won 3 Super Bowls, the New York Giants that had won 2, and the Philadelphia Eagles that were right on the cusp of being one of the best teams in the league. And so you knew who the benchmark was. How do you get better? And obviously last week playing against Miami, they're an established program. They've got a lot of really good, talented players, and it was an opportunity for our kids to go out and compete and play against and find out, okay, this is what it takes from a preparation standpoint, from an athletic ability standpoint, from an execution standpoint. And one of the things, the game, obviously, it's disappointing to not win, okay? I mean, we play every one of these games in the Herman Edwards standpoint. You play the game to win the game, and there's no real moral victories. But one of the things that I wanted to try to show our players yesterday, AJ, was there were probably 15 plays in that game, okay, of opportunities. And we told the team all week long, if you execute and you do what you're supposed to do, there's going to be opportunities of plays that potentially could change the outcome of the game. And you go early in the ball game and we get the sack, fumble with Furman, and the ball's loose at the 12-yard line. We don't get it. No. They make 2 completions that we had great chances to make interceptions. I mean, it's a collision. The ball gets popped up. Instead of getting the interception, they get the completion. But those are opportunities for turnovers. We missed an opportunity to block a punt. So there was things that happened during the course of the game, and obviously we struggled significantly in the first half offensively, and it put our defense, because I thought our defense started off really good. I think the first couple of possessions, we stopped them on 4th and 1, which is another great opportunity. You give the offense the football at the 40-yard line. That's great field position, but you have to capitalize on those opportunities, and if you don't, then it's a long, hard day. The defense was on the field way too too much, and we didn't get into any kind of rhythm and success offensively until midway or at the end of the third quarter, when we started having a little bit of success running the football. And then, C.J. Wharton had a great game. 123 yards and 2 touchdowns on 5 catches. He made some big plays for us. So, but it's an opportunity to watch our players play against a good football team, to say, okay, for the rest of the season, not for next year, not for 3 years from now, but for the next game, here's where we need to get better.
Resounding talking point following the conclusion of the game was flat out they didn't quit.
Yeah.
Down 31.
No.
They played to the end, 17 points in that final quarter. You had Furman Silva showing emotion on that fourth down sack in the red zone.
Yeah.
And let's talk about CJ a little bit. 5 receptions, he's at 123 yards, that 44-yard catch, and he took advantage of the corner blitz on 1 touchdown. A terrific play sandwiched in between 2 defenders for that 44-yard gain. And then somehow James Morgan found him in the back of the end zone on that. A lot of notable plays from CJ.
The easy one obviously was the one where he's running wide open down the sidelines, but James made the right read. That was read down the middle of the field. The safety overplayed that, and he found CJ going down the boundaries. The one that he made the catch where it was between 2 defenders on the sidelines, probably the most impressive part of it is not the fact that just the vertical jump to go up to give yourself, is when you're in a collision and in a crowd like that, is to maintain the focus on the football, to be able to come down with the ball, because when there's 2 guys there, it's real easy for one of them to punch it out, pull your arm away from it, but he had both hands on it and he secured it. And then the one in the end zone, that's one of the things, when you get in the red zone, the field is twice as wide as it is deep, so you're probably going to have a chance to maybe be covered. You're going to have to uncover yourself, and he did a great job in the back of the end zone. When James stepped up in the pocket, he uncovered himself. And then the best thing, if you get a chance to ever watch it, when he came down with the ball, his ability to put his feet in the end zone and then fall out of the back of the end zone, it was just really a good performance by him all day Saturday.
That's a good point about adjusting to how to play in the red zone. I want to further touch on that topic. As a receiver, you kind of have to learn how to play in the open field, but also have to learn how do you play in the red zone. It's kind of 2 different facets that a receiver has to learn through time.
A little bit of it. Some of it obviously is the plays that you call down there, because you don't have 60-yard shots down the field. The field is 15, 18, 20 yards down the field, so now the field is wider, and you've got to do a great job in the spacing aspect of it. But you got to assume that people, now you've got 6 guys, 7 guys, maybe 8 guys dropping into coverage, and they're filling in all the throwing lanes. So now you've got to make sure that you do a great job of being in the right position, that either the underneath routes uncover some guys and they split them open so that there's a throwing lane, and that's eventually what ended up happening.
CJ, a transfer, of course, from the University of Florida, redshirted last season, and there was a video this summer when you awarded him a scholarship. When did you kind of get the sense that he could be a guy that could contribute? Did you feel right away you knew maybe eventually this guy's someone I'm going to have to award a scholarship to, because he was in construction as a side job? Was that ever taken away from his practice time or competing here at FIU? What was that dynamic?
Yeah, it really didn't. That was the summer job, I think, was over the summer, while he was not going to school and stuff. But it was blatantly apparent when he came as a transfer from Florida, probably about 2 or 3 weeks into the season, when he was playing on the scout team and he was trying to be the featured receiver of the other team. You could see that he had talent. He had speed, he had explosion, he had good concept with the hands and stuff. And sometimes kids that transfer from other programs, maybe they feel like that, I'm better than everybody else, and they're just going to kind of cruise through it. But we were fortunate last year, he and then Jordan Woods, who transferred in from Georgia Tech. We've got a couple of guys that have come from other programs that have really truly raised the level of the athletic ability of our football team, and you just knew it all season long. Every single week. Our defense was like, man, this guy's lighting it up. He's helping us get prepared. So you knew then and almost immediately that, when an opportunity became, we're going to put him on scholarship.
His emergence has been even more important. Some guys nicked up with the wideout spot, Bryce Singleton. So CJ standing out in the early half of this season, that's been great to see. We touch on special teams every now and then, especially when they deserve it, but you can't go through this Miami review without mentioning what Stowe Wilson did. What a terrific. You don't want to see your punter on the field too often, but 9 punts, 47 yards per punt.
Right.
4 50-plus yard punts. That was certainly a facet in which your team outshined the Canes. He was ready to go.
Yeah, we've kind of felt like, AJ, that all season long that one of the real advantages that we have against most of the teams that we're going to probably play against is the actual kickers themselves. And Stone has been outstanding all season long. The win at ODU, a lot of it was the field position, being able to punt the ball. And like you said, not only was his average 47 yards per kick, but the hang time, which is critically important, was over 4.4 seconds. So that gives you a chance to sprint down the field and maybe force fair catches and opportunities. And one of the opportunities that we look back on, and we saw when the Miami returner caught the ball, that Ike Brown had a chance to just immediately hit him. And maybe if you bite the football, if you put your helmet right on the football, maybe it goes on the ground and you get another opportunity to create a turnover. But Stone did an excellent job. Sean did a really good job on the kickoffs. And then Jose is, he's just like automatic. I mean, you just know that regardless of the distance and stuff, I mean, we feel comfortable that any field goal that he has a chance, if the protection is good and the hold is good, he could make it inside 55 yards almost any day.
How do you evaluate the defensive performance? Because obviously Miami, I think, was on the field almost 37 minutes. So you get 31 points, but a couple of fourth down stands, you get a couple turnovers. How do you feel the defense, your evaluation of that throughout the course
I think that there was highlight points.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the sacks and some of the times that we did get to the quarterback, I think stopping some of the runs. The thing, obviously, when you play that long, I mean, we had to play a lot of guys to keep guys fresh and in the game. When the offense is struggling and there's not a lot of first downs, you got to play a lot of guys. And probably the most disappointing part is the fact that just gap control, and people hear this all the time about coaches talking about you got to be in your right gap, you got to be in your right gap. And there was times that guys either attempting to try to make a play, jump in a gap that's not theirs, or they're in their gap and they try to separate to maybe think they're going to make a tackle. We gave up 138 yards rushing yesterday by guys not being in the right gap. And that's not necessarily just all defensive linemen. Sometimes it's the safety dropping down in support. Sometimes it's the linebackers not being in the right place. And obviously, any time that you can affect the rushing game, it puts more pressure on the passing game. And then when the passing game has a little bit more pressure, now you have a chance, for your defensive line to get to the quarterback. Because Furman Silva had an excellent game. 2 sacks yesterday. He had 2 quarterback pressures. He had 2 quarterback hits. We need more guys than just him. We need other guys to step up and to be able to collapse the pocket and get to the quarterback. But there were highlights in some of the things, and then there was things that obviously we've got to do better.
And you play good teams, you get a great opportunity to do some good film study. And
sure.
130 yards, missing gaps, a great opportunity to move forward from that against conference competition. The transitive property, a mathematical concept. Fans love the transitive property of sports. Team A beats Team B, and then they beat Team C. 21 unanswered against Old Dominion. They go out and put 49 against Virginia Tech, a top 15 team. Do players, coaches ever take note of that? Is that a thing? So, hey, we beat this team, and they wouldn't competed with the top 15 team.
They should.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, and people don't understand this, that almost every single Saturday, legitimately, you've got a chance. If you show up and play and the other team doesn't play to their highest level, you never know. And it's like I used to tell kids in the locker room, AJ, and this is kind of a comedian deal. I said, you got to prepare as if you're going to fight Muhammad Ali every Saturday. That's who's going to show up in the ring for 12 rounds. If somebody less than Muhammad Ali shows up, you're prepared to knock them out.
Yeah.
But if Muhammad Ali shows up, you better be ready to play. And I don't care what the other school, and I've said this probably for more than a dozen years, if you just approached every game about the fact it's about us, it's really not about the other opponent. The other opponent, black helmet, black face mask, black jersey, no numbers, they are not somebody, don't worry about the uniform, don't worry about the history, the tradition of the school.
Yeah.
Show up and play your best. The outcome will probably be a lot better than you think.
Great start, 2-2, a great strength of schedule, I should say. Arkansas and Pine Bluff coming up this weekend at Ricardo Silva Stadium. We'll preview the Golden Lions, Arkansas and Pine Bluff, when we return on Panther Talk Live with Butch Davis. Stay with us.
We are stronger together.
We push each other to excel.
In the classroom, on the field,
In the community.
Together, we are committed.
Uplifting, strong,
and authentic.
we are building the next generation.
And we are doing it our way.
Stronger together.
Working towards the same vision.
This is the CUSA way.
We're a university founded on the side of an airport, reaching new heights. It's in our DNA. And since then, we've dedicated ourselves to solving the big problems facing our community and the world. We believe that crazy startup idea isn't so crazy, that families without health care shouldn't have to go it alone. We believe we can be better prepared for the next hurricane, and that our coral reefs can be saved. And that's because, above all else, we believe in you.
We are committed.
We are uplifting.
We are strong.
We are authentic.
On the field, in the classroom, in the community.
It's not just something we do.
It's how we live. It's our way.
Always pushing one another.
Working towards the same vision. Stronger together.
This is the CUSA way.
All right, welcome back to Panther Talk Live with Butch Davis here at the FIU Graham Center. All right, previewing Arkansas Pine Bluff as well. We'll play some clips from their game against South Dakota State, actually their season opener, which was a victory against University of Cumberland, their 55-0 win. They lost 90-6 to South Dakota State, 62-13 at Prairie View this last week. A crash course on Arkansas Pine Bluff, founded in 1916, their football program. The school founded in the Reconstruction era, late 1870s, as Branch Normal College. Notable alumni include L.C. Greenwood, a member of that steel curtain defense.
Sure.
They wore gold cleats so the announcers could distinguish them from Mean Joe Green.
Exactly.
Nearly a Hall of Famer, a four-time Super Bowl champion. But Arkansas Pine Bluff enters this weekend 1-3. Member of the FCS. All right, so when you look at Arkansas Pine Bluff, obviously they've struggled offensively their last 2 weeks. The defense has given up 152 points, but that doesn't matter. You prepare as if it's Muhammad Ali. We saw an FCS team, North Carolina A&T, defeat a group of 5 school. What have you seen in your initial film study from Arkansas?
Well, here's what you have to know. First of all, growing up in Arkansas, I know a little bit about the history of Arkansas Pine Bluff. The majority of their recruits kind of come from the Little Rock area, the Memphis area, southern Arkansas, over into West Mississippi, into northern Louisiana and stuff. So they have access to an awful lot of really good athletes. And probably the biggest problem that they're facing right now, AJ, is the fact that they've gone through multiple quarterbacks. They've had guys that have gotten injured, guys that have gotten hurt, and so it has really affected how they've been effective. So now, obviously, they're going to get settled in and play the same quarterback. But like you say, I mean, if you're worried about the other scores and you're looking at that, then you're not looking at the right thing. We got to look at us and how do we get better than how we played last weekend, and show up and compete and play and try to continue to grow. Because I'm going to tell you what, Arkansas Pine Bluff is going to look at this like the Super Bowl. This is an opportunity to come in and play very, very well, and maybe pull, like you say, like one of those App State, go and play Michigan and upset somebody. You see it every single week at the MAC schools. You see Akron and Kent State go and they beat teams in the Big Ten, and you're like, how in the world did that ever happen? And a lot of times, I mean, because one thing that Pine Bluff will bring in, they've got speed at the running back position, they got speed at the wide receiver position. Their defensive line, they try to blitz and they try to give your quarterback an awful lot of difficult situations. So we've got to do a much better job of playing and protecting the quarterback than we did last week.
Was that ever one of the games early on your schedule when you're at Arkansas? Did you guys ever go against Pine
No,
Bluff? They were an independent, I think, for a long time.
No, not at that time. 6 wins in the last 4 seasons. They had a very successful 2012 campaign. They won the SWAC in 2012, a 10-win season, but since then, 6 wins in their last 4 years. Bringing it back to FIU and talking about James Morgan for a second. When you're a quarterback, when that mental clock is going, you realize you only have about 2.5 seconds to get it all. How much of an impact do you think that makes versus when he had more time in the pocket in that UMass game? Oh, there's no doubt about it. I mean, anytime, and part of it is obviously is the protection. It starts up front, the offensive line doing a good job with the running backs and or the tight ends, whoever's involved in the protection, making sure that they give the quarterback the time. Then it's the receivers. They've got to uncover. They've got to run routes and separate and create opportunities so that when the ball does have to get out of the quarterback's hands in about 3 seconds, they've broke away from the coverage. And if you're getting smothered and you don't uncover, then the quarterback is now having to go from 1 read to 2 read to 3 read, and now all of of a sudden, instead of it being 3 seconds in the pocket, now it's 4 and 5,
Yeah.
and that's when the protection starts to break down.
Yeah, James Morgan looking for a bounce-back performance this week against Arkansas Pine Bluff. We'll see how many guys are able to get in. Maybe if it's a similar game as UMass, 40, 50 players getting in, but we'll see. Got to prepare for Arkansas Pine Bluff this week. They do have a big win, 55-0 over Cumberlands before their offensive struggles following that. All right, talked last week with Butch Davis off camera about his days at Oklahoma State, his GA days. Talk about the film study, the process of preparation for teams like Arkansas Pine Bluff when we come back on Panther Talk Live with Butch Davis.
We are stronger together.
We push each other to excel.
In the classroom, on the field,
In the community.
Together, we are committed.
Uplifting, strong, and authentic.
we are building the next generation.
And we are doing it our way. Stronger together.
Working towards the same vision.
This is the CUSA way.
We're a university founded on the side of an airport, reaching new heights. It's in our DNA. And since then, we've dedicated ourselves to solving the big problems facing our community and the world. We believe that crazy startup idea isn't so crazy, that families without healthcare shouldn't have to go it alone. We believe we can be better prepared for the next hurricane, and that our coral reefs can be saved. And that's because, above all else, we believe in you.
We are committed. We are uplifting.
We are strong.
We are authentic.
On the field,
In the classroom.
In the community.
It's not just something we do.
it's how we live.
It's our way.
Always pushing one another.
Working towards the same vision.
Stronger together.
This is the CUSA way.
All right, welcome back to the final segment of Panther Talk Live with Butch Davis here at the Graham Center, the campus of FIU. Appreciate you joining us on Facebook Live this week as we preview this weekend's matchup. 7:30 p.m., Ricardo Silva Stadium against Arkansas Pine Bluff. Myself and Kenny Kelly on 790 a.m. The ticket coverage begins at 7 p.m. All right, Coach, bringing it back to the Oklahoma State days. I think 1979, you were at GA. I don't know how long, if it was just 1 year, but you were listed as tight ends, wide receiver. 6 months. You shed the GA tag quickly. But I was fascinated when you were telling me the process, because GAs, they're right away, maybe even Sunday nights or Saturday night, Sunday morning, they're getting filmed, they're getting ready, chopping it up so that you guys can be more efficient in your film study. What was that process like in 1979 as GA at Oklahoma State?
Well, it all started by, obviously, you had the computer sheet, and you had to take the film and put it into computer language so that when you ran it through the computer, it could spit it out. You know, what was the field positions, what was the 1st and 10, what was their personnel groupings, and all of those things. So then after you got done with breaking the film down and putting it into the computer, then you actually had to break the film down in those days, because there was no, you didn't duplicate the film, so you had to cut it up and you had to splice it and you had to create. And I can remember taking masking tape, and I know that Dave Wanstead, myself, and all the guys, even at Miami when we first went there, 16 millimeter film, you just started sticking it on the wall, all the inside runs, all the outside runs, all the power runs, and they were just stuck up there. Then you took them and you spliced them and put them together, which was the easiest part. The hardest part was like taking them and putting them back in the film in the order of which the game film actually originated. So it was extraordinarily difficult. Now with iPads and computers and
it's not dragging a file to
a
folder.
Lord, no kidding. It's not doing that. But there's still a lot of work. Our GAs, they are doing a great job. Literally when the game is over with, they're instantly breaking our films down so that we can do self-evaluation of ourselves, look at our own analytics. They've already started breaking 2 or 3 games of the upcoming opponent during the week. They're getting those kinds of things done, so they are doing a lot of work.
Do I recall you told me you had to go to Tulsa to do some of this?
Yeah, well, when obviously there was no flights into Stillwater. So to pick it up, if somebody, let's say we played South Carolina, or we played somebody like that, you'd have to go to Oklahoma City, or you'd have to go to Tulsa, and you'd have to wait all night. You'd sit in the parking lot and try to catch a little bit of sleep, and they would tell you, they'd tell you that the UPS or the DHL or somebody was going to land at 5 o'clock, and you'd go over there to collect the film, and they'd go, "It missed the flight." and it would be like, oh my God, you got to be kidding me! And then when's the next flight? 10 o'clock, and you knew instantly that that the coaches were going to just chew you out. It's like, hey, it's UPS. What am I going to do about it? You know,
but long nights in the Midwest, sitting in your car waiting.
But you know what, though, AJ, I will tell you that probably most of the best coaches that I've ever known and guys that I've been fortunate enough to work with and stuff, everybody started out as a GA. I mean, it's a crash course of learning how to coach and how to do all the analytical things and the breakdowns, and then they run the scout teams during the course of the week. And so it is unbelievable. It's a time-intensive thing. I mean, they're probably spending 15 to 18 hours a day trying to do all the things that they're doing, juggling everything, and making sure that that the team is as best prepared that it can possibly be.
Yeah, it feels rare today to find a head coach that wasn't at some point a young assistant or a GA. Even Nick Saban, I think at Kent State's a GA. Dabo was at Alabama, but both those guys had their time as GAs. But you contrast it to where it's at in 2018, and you mentioned last week, sometimes the problem can be the wealth, the depth of information. You've got too many things you're trying to focus on. What do you expect out of your GAs and your system, and what kind of information do you want?
That's one of the things that I think that you have to do is you have to, make sure that the assistant coaches aren't requiring things that are unreasonable. I mean, like you could make cut-ups on a million different things, but what really truly impacts the game? What are the things from a field position, personnel groupings? What are the things that are extraordinarily important? I can remember the days even with the Dallas Cowboys that we would get a computer packet that was maybe, I don't know, it might have been 250 pages. Yeah. And you'd flip through it and you'd go, okay, this 100 I don't need. Okay, just throw it in the trash. These are the things that are going to help us win the game, and making sure that you do those. And because even then, you could get way too much information.
Yeah, there's so much.
It's kind of like analysis by paralysis. It's like focus on the things that really truly are going to make a difference in the game.
Yeah, no, absolutely. All right, a reminder this weekend, 7:30 p.m. FIU against Arkansas Pine Bluff at Ricardo Silva Stadium. Coach, final thing, 4 games into the season, 2 very respectable performances against Indiana, Miami. Combined losses in those 2 games by 24 points. Were very, very respectable. And then 2 big wins, Old Dominion and UMass. What's your keys, your emphasis to your team as you start practice this week? You break down the film and get the guys ready for the final non-conference tune-up.
Well, we're not changing anything. Yep. I mean, every game is exactly the same preparation, the same practice habits, and it's really, truly, it's an evaluation of looking at how each individual, how can you be better? How can I raise my level of performance, my fundamentals, my techniques, and making sure that we get better. You can't put anything on automatic pilot during the course of any football season. You've got to challenge yourself to improve and to get better and get prepared, and obviously they're going to show up and they're going to run a lot of the things that we have seen. They're going to run a lot of gun run things. They're going to run a lot of RPO things. So it is an opportunity to challenge ourselves to make sure that we're on track and we're doing the right things to win this game.
Coach, appreciate the time. As always, FIU fans hoping maybe they see C.J. Ward all by himself again. It's happened a couple times
that would be good.
It's always good to see number 11 trotting into the end zone. It's been a breakout star. We'll see how they can do this weekend against Arkansas Pine Bluff. It's been another installment of Panther Talk Live with Butch Davis. Make it a great week, everyone. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.